Yo, what up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego. Listen, I'm gonna try something new. Hope you guys can hear me. You guys hear me good? I'm a trendsetter. I set new standards for myself, try out new things, the usual. I'm gonna start doing these Ego live reports. So let me give you a breakdown. It's kind of a hybrid between like the regular commentary videos that I do and a live, just so people can, so it has some replay value. I'm going to structure it kind of like a regular video. It's not going to be as long probably as the other video, but I'm not answering, it's going to be subject dedicated. So anytime you see Ego live reports, I'm not going to bounce around. I'm going to structure it like I was doing a regular video. You guys get what I'm saying? So if the title is like, this is about Chavez Jr., Danny Jacobs, Eddie Hearn, and this whole fiasco. So it's really going to be a report on that. So I'm not going to get sidetracked with, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to stay locked in, tunnel vision. So kind of a hybrid of what I do, when I'm not at a fight. You guys get it? So I don't know how long it's going to be, but we got to talk about this. And here goes nothing. First ever. We testing something new. Let's get it. New media. We the gang gang. Appreciate y'all. Smash the like button. So it's in between a regular video and a live stream. Let's get it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. ESPN Plus. Use the link below. It helps the channel. We working. Now, I want to talk to y'all about Julio Cesar Chavez versus Danny Jacobs fight. And a lot of this is eerily similar to my concerns when the fight was first announced. Rematch Room, Eddie Hearns, DAZN, they are putting on Danny Jacobs versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on a Friday. And that's the fight. Jacobs is moving up to 168. And the boxing scene, boxingscene.com, I'm going to give you guys the link right now. I'm going to read some pull quotes. Thomas Hauser, he was the one that busted out the whole Dillian White scandal for the D Bowl or the Diana Bowl. Link in the description. Make sure you guys check it out. Wow. He wrote an article for Boxing Scene, and he went in. He definitely went in. He went in deep to kind of inform the fans as to what's going on, inconsistencies. Check that link in the description. And man, I feel like the DAZN curse strikes again because it to me is not necessarily a great look. Title of the article is Matchroom, Chavez Jr., the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and VADA. It says Matchroom Boxing USA plans to promote and DAZN plans to stream. See how the keyword, operative word being plans, a super middleweight fight between Danny Jacobs and Julio Cesar Chavez, December 20th. Few boxing insiders think the bout will be competitive. So he's saying like a lot of people, lost faith in Chavez Jr., bad performances, can't make weight, things like that. Jacobs is a prohibitive favorite, but DAZN wants Chavez on the network because it believes his presence will drive subscription buys in the Hispanic American community, which is exactly what I said. Looking for that, just why they keep plastering Andy Ruiz, who's not a DAZN fighter, and they're putting him all over they're showing Joshua on the ground, a DAZN fighter, when he got knocked out by Ruiz, and they're showing Ruiz jumping up and punching. It's almost as if that Andy Ruiz is the DAZN fighter, if you guys really look at it. But I digress. Let's keep going. So they're clout chasing the Hispanic population, trying to put this fight together. I told you there's a lot circling this particular fight. And this article from Hauser goes in deep. It says, according to information transmitted by VADA to the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. arrived at the gym shortly before 2. At that time, the VADA collection officer introduced himself, and Chavez refused to provide him a sample. He repeated his refusal several times as the afternoon progressed. VADA president Dr. Margaret Goodman was contacted by Matchroom CEO Frank Smith and Sean Palmer, who's the counsel for Matchroom, who asked that the VADA collection officer remain on site while they sought to convince Chavez to provide the sample. At at 4:35 p.m., so he got there at 2, stayed for 2.5 hours plus. At 4:35 p.m., after Chavez had left the gym and it was clear that he would not return to provide the sample, the VADA collection officer left. Okay. I want you guys to take that piece in. Like I stated before, that doesn't really sound good. You're putting on a fight. You're moving it from one state in the West Coast because he's banned to another state in the West Coast, and you have this scheduled, and you've already done a press conference. Listen, Chavez Jr., and then on top of that, a DAZN reporter, Chris Mannix, also tweeted that they have Gabe Rosado on this card on standby, right? Because they aren't confident that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. can even make weight. So once again, the DAZN curse strikes again. And I'm going to keep going with the Hauser article. Make sure you check the link in the description. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's very lengthy, very detailed. But these are accounts and like the information that was obtained as to what was going on, right? But as you guys can see already, it sounds a little bit fishy. You get what I'm saying? And beyond the fishy aspect, I just feel it's a bit too much hassle, you know? Like, who does this? Why DAZN? I understand DAZN's been out a year plus, you know, they're the new kids on the block, Donnie Wahlberg, whatever. But my thing is, why would you want to inherit this type of baggage? This is precisely what I told you guys. Make sure you guys smash the like button. We are live. But this is precisely what I told you guys. You know, why would you want this much baggage associated with your fight? Miss Boxing says Chavez stated in an interview. See, this is going to be the fun thing about this new segment is I could hear from you guys as I'm reporting. So, you know, we could break it up a little bit. Miss Boxing says Chavez stated in an interview that he didn't have a license at the time, nor was the fight even signed. So he didn't feel he needed to take the test. Okay, so let's get back to the Thomas Hauser piece. So duly noted. Link in the description. So the guy waited 2.5 hours, stayed on site, and Chavez didn't, you know, no one convinced him or whatever. On October 30th, at the behest of Bob Bennett of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they placed Chavez Jr. on a temporary suspension pending the result of a November 20th commission meeting or hearing, which I told you guys about. An attorney representing Chavez reached out informally to the Nevada Attorney General Office, which has jurisdiction over NSAC, for relief, but the Attorney General officer stood by Bennett. Thereafter, Eddie Hearns found a more compliant state athletic commission. Francisco Menes, executive director of Arizona Boxing and MMA Commission, said the fight could proceed in Arizona and that drug testing would be conducted by Drug Free Sport USA, and it says in parentheses, an organization that lacks the credibility of VADA. So this fight, according to this Thomas Hauser piece, is not going to have VADA testing. It's going to be Drug Free Sport USA, some other, you know, private independent company. And the Thomas Hauser piece says, in parentheses, an organization that lacks the credibility of VADA. And I would have to say he's right, because we've all heard of VADA, WADA, USADA, but I haven't heard of this sport, you know, USA or whatever it's called. So as we dig and dive a little bit deeper, some of these things are just, you know, it doesn't look good. Drug Free Sport US, that's the company that is now in charge of drug testing. Chavez Jr. can't, fail any drug tests or he is the fight signed. Okay. It says after Arizona was announced as the site for the fight, Eddie Hearn told FightHype.com, quote, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. hadn't signed up for the fight, hadn't signed up for VADA, and Nevada through VADA turned up to test him. And he said, quote, well, I haven't signed for the fight yet, so he didn't test, and they chose not to license him. So I went to Arizona, went to the other boxing commissions who said, we will license him, no problem. He just has to sign up for testing, which is he's done in full, and on we go. The article says, but Eddie Hearn's explanation is flawed. First, Thomas Hauser, he's coming with some heat. Tom, okay, he said Eddie Hearn's explanation is flawed. First, under Nevada law, the Nevada State Athletic Commission has jurisdiction to test a fighter for performance-enhancing drugs once a promoter requests a date for a fight from the commission. And Matchroom had previously requested December 20th as the date for Jacob Chavez. Okay, so that's a great point. And see, the reason I want to go over this stuff with you guys is because I'm telling you my opinions from the outside looking in. I don't know all of the commission, every single rule and body of work. So, leave it to someone who knows a little bit more in that particular field. Like, that's good knowledge. So what Thomas Hauser is saying is Eddie Hearn's explanation doesn't make sense. He says from the moment you request a date and, they book the MGM or T-Mobile or Cosmopolitan or whatever, they can drug test you because it's really, just finalizing contracts and, crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So another thing that doesn't look good, doesn't look good for this particular fight. What do you guys think? We're live. Just in case you guys are watching this on the replay, we're trying something new. I'm doing a hybrid live stream, but then I'm going to re-air it on my channel. So I'm talking to the people you see on the screen and, just making it a little bit more interactive. But that's a good source and a good piece of knowledge to know that they said basically Thomas Hauser in his article, what he's saying is once you request the date, it's fair game. That's basically what he's saying. Cursor says that sounds bad already. I agree with you. Shout out to Icy. Man, I'm like Steve Jobs with this. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. He said innovation ego. Yeah, man, we like the hybrid. I'm trying to do this like Tesla, like a Chevy Volt, half gas, half electric. Let's get it. This don't look good, bro. This don't look good. So he says Eddie's explanation is flawed. The moment you tell Nevada, because you have to tell the commission before it's authorized and final, so they know that, hey, we're planning this big fight. You're requesting a date. So Thomas Hauser's piece is saying, and again, the link will be in the description. Thomas Hauser's piece is saying that it's open season. If you request the date, then they can come test you. That's part of the rules. It says, moreover, now this is the detailed spots. Moreover, the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act provides that each boxing commission shall establish procedures to ensure that no boxer is permitted to box within its jurisdiction while under suspension from any other boxing commission as a consequence of a failed drug test. And the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, code expressly treats evading, refusing, or failing to submit a drug test or to submit to a drug test as a violation with penalties that are the same as the penalties for a failed drug test. The Ali Act was designed to prevent forum shopping of that kind that is happening now in conjunction with Jacob Chavez. Before Matchroom settled on Arizona as the site for Jacob Chavez, it reached out informally to California State Athletic Commission. Man, this dude is digging, bro. So I guess they try to move it from Nevada to California informally to probe or see if they could salvage the fight. to determine whether Chavez might be licensed in California. But Chavez had a troubled relationship with California State Athletic Commission. He was supposed to fight on the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury card, and I remember that, in Los Angeles last summer, but Chavez missed multiple appointments with the CSAC, California Board, medical personnel. Therefore, he was pulled from the Wilder Fury card. The response of the CSAC executive director, Andy Foster, to Matchroom's inquiry regarding Jacob Chavez was such that Hearn decided to look elsewhere for a site. Hearns claimed that he went to Arizona, or ABC, Associations of Boxing Commissions, went to other boxing commissions who said, we'll license him, no problem. He just has to sign up for testing, is particularly problematic. Hearn did speak with Mike Muselli, a former ABC president who is still a member of the ABC executive board, but Muselli no longer speaks with the authority of the ABC. And even if he did, he wouldn't have the authority to waive a violation of the Ali Act. Man, what? Man, once again, new media, like I've been telling y'all, this just looks chaotic. It looks fishy. It looks really unnecessary. Like, for a fight of this, DAZN believe they want it. This is what I told you guys. I told you guys from the beginning. DAZN feels that Chavez Jr. is, the key master to the, let's be real. Like I told you, the Hispanic, Latino, they're trying to get the Latino vote. They're trying to get the Mexican American vote. So they believe Chavez Jr. with his surname is the key to that. So you're doing all of this just to get this fight sanctioned? Don't look good to me. What do you guys have? Someone says, this is messy. It's discombobulated. Sound like someone is breaking the Ali Act. We're live, people. Here's what they think about you. Desperation from DAZN. I told you this doesn't look right. And the craziest thing about it is, why go through all this for Chavez Jr. and Danny Jacobs? You really think, no, Jacobs is my man, but I'm just saying, why go through all this for that fight? You better off putting Gabe Rosado in New York with Jacobs. And then on top of that, DAZN reporter Mannix said that Gabe Rosado is an understudy. He's on standby in case Chavez Jr. can't make weight. So with all these different things looming in the background, is this fight worth it? It's a Friday fight because you don't want to compete with the other fights that are on Saturday. Is it really and truly worth all of this? You were supposed to put this in New York, and then you moved it to the West Coast. You were going to put it in Vegas. Chavez refused the VADA testing. So he got suspended by Bob Bennett pending a hearing, which hasn't happened. It's going to happen November 20th. So you probed to see if California would sanction him, but then you looked at his jacket, and California Athletic Commission had some negative marks because he was supposed to be on the Wilder Fury card in December of last year, and he missed appointments, and he got kicked off the card. And, he fought in Mexico one time since, so he hasn't dealt with the commission since. And then you check Arizona to see if they'll approve it, and you talk to some guy who, according to Thomas Hauser, ain't even the person in charge. He still works with the board, but he's not the person with the final say. And you've already done a press conference for this fight with pictures and hired photographers to snap pictures and have Jacobs, give his thoughts on fighting Chavez and doing face-offs. Really weird because according to this Thomas Hauser piece, it does not sound like it's 100% confirmed. So let's continue. Smash the like button. It says, in that regard, the thoughts of Brian Dunn, the current ABC president, are instructive. On November 12th, Dunn told Boxing Scene, quote, "I did not speak to Eddie Hearn. I did speak with Bob Bennett and the guy from Arizona, the executive director, from Arizona, Francisco Menses, and I am not happy about this. I don't like the commission shopping aspect of it. I don't think it's legal under the Ali Act for the fight to go forward in Arizona. If Chavez is on suspension in Nevada for refusing to take a test, I just don't think it's a good idea for Arizona to proceed with this fight under these circumstances." There is, however, one sliver of hope for Matchroom and Chavez. As earlier noted, the Nevada State Athletic Commission placed Chavez on a temporary suspension pending the result of November 20th commission meeting/hearing. At that meeting, the 5 commissioners are expected to review the temporary suspension and set it down for a hearing on December 18th. The key question is whether, in the interim, Nevada commissioners will classify his suspension as an administrative suspension or a suspension for refusing to submit to a sample collection. If they opt for the latter, the Arizona Commission would be in violation of federal law if it allows Jacob Chavez to be contested. Here, one might note that in the past, Chavez has had an adversarial relationship with Nevada State Athletic Commission. In 2009, he tested positive for furosemide, a banned diuretic, following a decision victory over Troy Rowland, and the results of the fight was changed to a no decision. He also tested positive for marijuana following a decision loss to Sergio Maravilla Martinez in Nevada in 2012, after which he was fined and suspended. I'm done. Link in the description. Thomas Howard bodied that, bro. Thomas Howard, hey, y'all better be on the up and up. This is the second article that he's talked about, kind of like back roads, underhanded, with the Dillian White situation, also with the this situation. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? It just to me, for a fight of that magnitude, I wouldn't want that blood on my hands. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I just don't even see it like the crazy. I get that's kind of what it is for me. I think the craziest part is I don't even think it's a fight worth all of this. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to give a hand to Thomas Hauser. Bro, he was going in detail, and I learned something. I like articles like that where I learned something. I didn't know all the specifics and names and players and stuff like that. Definitely a great write-up. So this is massively different from the stories that you guys were telling me that were out, saying the guy had no ID, because remember, if you guys remember my old live stream where we talked about this, I'm like, that don't even sound right. So they came to the Wild Card Gym where he's training with Freddie Roach, asked for samples, blood and urine, had vials and rubber bands and all the tools. He don't have no polo shirt on, no dress shirt, no lanyard, no badge, no hat, no identifying mark, to notify him. You guys told me, the man fans told me that the guy had no ID. But now through this report, when the details come out, we find out that the guy pulled up and waited for 2.5 hours. So if he's in the gym waiting for 2.5 hours, bro, who you think is just a random crackhead from off the street with all this equipment and vials? And then on top of that, this report shows, and the information obtained is saying that Matchroom got on the phone and started communicating with VADA or Nevada State Athletic Commission. They had the guy wait there, which is what I told you. I'm like, this seems easy to resolve in the age of cell phones. Man. I just think like this just looks like a lot of hassle. And I told you that, see, I don't know everything, but how did I predict a lot of this stuff before this article just came out? This article, and I said the same thing. How am I ego Stradamus? I'm like, usually if you're banned in one state, it's upheld with the other. They're not going to override you. You know, I even use these two examples. I said it's like me asking my father if I could stay the night at my friend's house because I don't want to deal with my mom. So my mom already said no, and she went to the store. So I asked my dad. That's the equivalent, you know, king of analogies. So I want to stay at my friend's house. I go ask my mom, and she says no, but then she leaves to the store. So she's gone. So I asked my dad, and unbeknownst to him, my mom already said, no, I can't spend the night at my friend's house. And he's like, sure, whatever. He's not tripping. Pops ain't tripping. You know, that seems like kind of a conflict of interest. And I was like, I never heard of that. And I also use this second example. I told you guys, I said like Billy Joe Saunders. You look at the Billy Joe Saunders. I really wanted to see him fight Demetrius Andrade, another rematch room card on DAZN. And it was supposed to happen in Boston, Rhode Island somewhere, right? And Billy Joe Saunders failed with a banned substance banned in the United States. And they didn't salvage the fight. The fight just got canceled. So I'm like, how did that fight get canceled? Why didn't they just move it to New York, New Jersey, Atlantic City or somewhere? Why didn't they just move it to Vegas if that's all you have to do to salvage a fight that people wanted to see? If all you have to do is check with another commission. So I never questioned it when it happened because I figured no other commission in the States is going to override a pre-existing ban. They're not going to license you, you know, in New York when you got this block that's public news for failing a drug test in Boston. So those are the two examples that I gave. And somehow, some way, Eddie Hearn is trying to pull this off. So I don't know. To me, it's too much. To me, this is just really weird. There's a lot of, and then on top of this, there's a person who failed a drug test for clenbuterol, and they in the WBC just upped the amount of clenbuterol you can have in your system to like exonerate fighters, and he's supposed to be on this card. He signed with Canelo Promotions and Rematch Room. His name is Julio Cesar Martinez. Tested positive for clenbuterol, and then now the WBC. He's a Mexican fighter, signed with Canelo, signed with Matchroom, and now all of a sudden the WBC has elevated the amount of clenbuterol that can be in one system before it's deemed to fail. So on top of the Chavez Jr., you're supposed to be putting him on here with this whole clenbuterol scandal where people are like, hey, instead of people having to change their diet or suspensions, you're just going to change the rule. And then now you got this whole Chavez thing, and the commission told boxing scene, hey, I don't like this commission shopping. Like, hey, you got denied in Nevada pending a hearing. You're not like Eddie Hearn does, bro. Eddie Hearn said it's gonna be the American takeover. This ain't it. This ain't American takeover. You're supposed to deal with the Nevada, or Chavez is supposed to deal with Nevada State Athletic Commission and Bob Bennett November 20th. Eddie Hearn wants to expedite and get the ball rolling, close the year with this fight. So he just looked at California, looked at Arizona. So I don't know. I just feel like this is a lot going on and a lot surrounding this fight. And like, how do you do with tickets? You know, you just buy your ticket and hope the fight pushes through. I don't know, man. I don't know. Remember, I talked about this whole thing, and y'all said, "Oh, why didn't you say this?" Chavez explained what happened. Well, he has some more explaining. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. He got some more explaining to do, because this Thomas Hauser piece just came out, and it's making its rounds. And you know, I don't understand. I don't see how this moves the needle for boxing. And to me, it's like, how does DAZN want all of this under their umbrella? Canelo, his fighter, failed with the clenbuterol. Dillian White failed with the Diana Ball in the Oscar Rivas fight on DAZN, right? Tyrone Sprong was supposed to fight Usyk. They said he failed another rematch room card. He failed a drug test, they say. He denies it, but that's what Eddie told us. That's why we had to see the Chaz Witherspoon fight. Now you're getting Chavez Jr. for Jacobs' move up. You're that thirsty for the Latino fan base that you know. And see, the other thing is some of the Latinos, they don't like it because they don't necessarily have faith in Chavez Jr. going from fighting a random guy to fighting Jacobs and have faith that it's going to be competitive, you know? So I don't know, man. I just feel like this is a lot under the DAZN umbrella, you know, not to mention Gerald Miller, Big Baby Miller, that was on the DAZN watch this year with Anthony Joshua. That fight got canceled. Pullouts for injury. I mean, it's just been a lot. Like I said, DAZN curse. So, I don't know. It now, according to this Thomas Hauser piece, it doesn't sound like the fight is 1,000% a go, because there's some, especially with this piece coming out. I mean, that puts pressure on the Arizona commission, don't you think? Hearn found a more compliant state athletic commission. And now they're supposed to be doing drug testing with Drug Free Sport USA. And Thomas Hauser literally put in parentheses, an organization that lacks the credibility of VADA. And I don't know anyone that's ever heard of Drug Free Sport USA. That sounds like something they just created today, you know, to say we drug test. I don't know, man. No, it's like maybe the UFC did something like this. You know, truth be told, I know my combat sports. Dana White did a move like this. Maybe Eddie Hearn got inspired, but Dana White might got more pull than you. And his situation was a little bit different. Dana White did it with John Jones. I don't know if it was it. Anybody? We live now. This is a live video, so y'all tell me. Was that the John Jones fight, the one that was in Nevada, and then they moved it to California? Was that this year or last year? I think it was this year, but, you know, there's a lot of fights that happened this year. But his situation was a little bit different because he had failed a drug test, got fined and suspended, and was banned since UFC 205 or whatever it was, and served his suspension. And he tested with microscopic elements of what he already tested positive for, right? And they said that remnants can show up in your system ongoing because, you know, with that particular Turnaball, or I forgot what he was on or what they said what he had in his system. So that was a little bit different because they said you can show for that particular PED, you could show trace elements well after the initial test. So that was kind of plausible. Picograms, yeah. You know, it was plausible that it was nothing new. It was just from what we already knew about, you know. But with this, Chavez Jr. had a dude waiting for 2.5 hours and, you know, didn't even do a test. And then he says, somebody said, Chavez said, hey, come test me now. I'm ready now. That's not how that works. It defeats the whole purpose of a random blood and urine Olympic style testing if you tell them when to come. I mean, does that make any sense to anybody? Honestly, does that make any sense? So they pop up on you, pull up, say, hey, I'm here to collect. You got to fight with Jacobs. And then the person turns them away. Oh, the fight, I haven't signed the contract yet. But you know you're in negotiations about to fight Jacobs. It's a, you know, your promoter, the guy promoting this, requested December 20th. So Thomas Hauser's piece says if they request the venue, then it's fair game because you have intent to fight in our state. So we can test you knowing you're trying to fight. You know, and you have them in the gym waiting for 2.5 hours and different people trying to, the article says different people are trying to convince him to do the drug test, bro. I don't know. We'll see what Eddie Hearn has to say regarding this, but man, we got to clean up the sport. We got to clean up the sport. You got a guy waiting 2.5 hours and won't do it because a guy you know you want to fight and you know the venue is booked and the date, but you don't want to, you know, you don't want to because just like, I don't know. It just doesn't look good. Perception doesn't look good. Shout out to Sterling Patterson. I love this format. This is cool. Sterling Patterson said, that's like telling your PO when to test you. Facts. That's perfect example. I love Ego's Army. Perfect example. Yeah, you don't tell your probation officer, your PO, when to test you. You know, they randomly pop up at the house and check up on you, or say, hey, get down here. Yeah, we're doing a live report stream, trying something new. That's my thoughts on it. We'll see how it all plays out, but it looks like, according to Thomas Hauser, there's more to this particular story. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions before I wrap this video up? We're just trying different things on the channel. Eddie said he was paranoid, but what is there to be paranoid? Like, somebody could test me right now. I'm ready. What you want? You want pee, blood, caca? I'll throw up in a bag like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. Seth Brundle. What you want? So, and the other thing is insane to me. I don't see why DAZN would want the hassle. Like, I don't even think this is that big of a fight like that to go through this. Do you get what I'm saying? It's almost like a girl who's pretty, but she's not that pretty to deal with her crazy ex. He's a stalker and he's stalking y'all when y'all dating. She got 6 kids that are bad. She has a drug problem and you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, she looks cool, but she don't look good enough to go through this much baggage. She's a klepto. Like, it just don't make sense. But we'll see how it all plays out. Ego Live Report. This is the first one. I'm gonna try different things on the channel like this. I really like it, so I can, do my reports, but mix it up for myself and for your entertainment. And yeah, if you enjoy what I'm doing, make sure you smash the like button. You could donate, hit the subscribe button. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video's Ego signing off.